It was just a bag. Left behind in a quiet corner, unnoticed by everyone else. Most people would have walked past it. Some might have taken it. But he didn't. A single dad, already struggling to make ends meet, picked it up with a simple intention to return it. He had no idea who it belonged to. He had no idea what was inside. But when he finally opened it, everything changed. Because what he found wasn't just valuable, it was something no one expected. And when the billionaire owner came looking for it, the truth behind that bag would reveal something far more important than money. Stay till the end, because this isn't just a story about honesty, it's about a choice that changes lives forever. The city moved quickly, filled with people chasing time, opportunity, and survival. Among them was a man named Samir, a single father who had learned to carry responsibility quietly. His life wasn't built on comfort or stability. It was built on effort, sacrifice, and the constant need to keep going, no matter how difficult things became. Every day followed a similar pattern. Work, home, care for his young son, and repeat. There was no space for mistakes, no room for luxury, and certainly no time to think about anything beyond what was necessary. But despite everything, Samir held on to something that couldn't be measured in money, his values. The kind that aren't taught through success, but through struggle. That afternoon, as he walked home after a long shift, something caught his attention. A bag, placed near a bench, partially hidden but clearly forgotten. People passed by it without noticing, or perhaps without caring. In a city like this, lost things often stayed lost. Samir stopped. Not out of curiosity, but out of instinct. He looked around, waiting to see if someone would return, if someone was searching. But no one came. The bag remained there, silent, waiting. He picked it up slowly, unsure of what he would find, unsure of what it meant. For a moment, a thought crossed his mind, the kind that appears when life is difficult, when opportunities are rare, when the weight of responsibility feels heavier than usual. What if this could change something? What if this was a way out? But the thought didn't stay. Because something else was stronger. He took the bag home, placing it carefully on the table. His son looked at it with curiosity, unaware of the decision it carried. "What's inside?" he asked. Samir hesitated. Not because he didn't want to know, but because he understood that opening it would make the situation real. Still, he did. Inside was money. A lot of it. Enough to change everything. Enough to solve problems he had been carrying for years. But it wasn't just money. There were documents. Personal items. Things that clearly belonged to someone specific. Someone who would be looking for it. The room felt different now. Not because of what was there, but because of what it meant. Samir sat quietly, the weight of the moment settling in. He could keep it. No one had seen him. No one would know. Or he could return it. Do the right thing. Even if it meant walking away from something that could change his life. His son watched him, not understanding the details, but sensing the importance. "Are we giving it back?" he asked simply. Samir looked at him, and in that moment, the decision became clear. Because this wasn't just about money. It was about something bigger. Something that would shape not just his life, but the example he set. "Yes," he said. "We are." The next step wasn't easy. Finding the owner, reaching out, explaining, none of it came with guarantees. But Samir didn't hesitate. Because once the decision was made, the path was simple. And somewhere in the city, someone was already searching. The meeting was arranged quickly, though the process felt longer than it should have. Samir stood outside a large building, its presence reflecting the kind of success he had only seen from a distance. This was where the bag belonged. This was where its owner would be. And this was where his decision would come full circle. Inside, everything was precise, controlled, structured. People moved with purpose, conversations carried importance, and the environment reflected a level of influence that felt far removed from Samir's world. But he didn't let it change his focus. He was there for one reason. And that was enough. When he was finally led into the room, the men waiting for him stood immediately. There was no hesitation, no delay. Just urgency. "You found it?" he asked, his voice carrying something deeper than concern. Samir nodded, placing the bag forward. The man opened it quickly, checking its contents, not just the money, but the items inside. And when he saw that everything was there, he paused. Not in relief, but in something else. Something quieter. "Do you know what this is?" he asked, looking at Samir. Samir shook his head. "It's not just money," the man said. "There's something in here that can't be replaced." He reached into the bag and pulled out a small, simple item. Not expensive. Not impressive. But meaningful. "This belonged to someone I lost," he continued. "And I thought it was gone." The room shifted. Not physically, but emotionally. Because what Samir had returned wasn't just valuable. It was irreplaceable. "Why didn't you keep it?" the man asked, not with suspicion, but with genuine curiosity. Samir didn't answer immediately. Not because he didn't know, but because the answer wasn't complicated. "Because it wasn't mine," he said simply. The response carried more weight than any explanation. It wasn't about sacrifice. It wasn't about recognition. It was about principle. The kind that doesn't change based on circumstances. The men studied him for a moment, not just seeing what he had done, but understanding what it meant. Because in a world where people often choose the easier path, Samir had chosen something different. "What do you need?" the man asked. It wasn't a transaction. It wasn't a reward. It was an opportunity. Samir thought for a moment, then shook his head slightly. "Nothing," he said. "I just wanted to return it." The simplicity of his answer changed everything. Because it proved something the men hadn't seen in a long time, that integrity still existed without expectation. But the story didn't end there. Because sometimes, doing the right thing doesn't just complete a moment, it creates a new one. The men didn't insist. He didn't push. But he didn't forget either. Because people like Samir don't just return what's lost, they restore something much deeper. And as Samir left that building, nothing about his life had changed on the surface. He still had responsibilities. Still had challenges. Still had the same path ahead. But something had shifted. Not in what he gained, but in what he confirmed. That doing the right thing doesn't always bring immediate rewards. But it builds something stronger. Something lasting. And sometimes, the value of that choice is greater than anything that could ever be found inside a bag.